A very good afternoon, students, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for week 2, and we've now on our third session for this week. And today we're actually going to focus on academic integrity and students with special needs. Now, over the past week, you've seen that we've covered various topics, right from the beginning to what are the different online assessments that you can prepare for on the Unisa examinations, how to access the Unisa exam platform. And yesterday we tackled one of the critical areas on what is the proctoring apps used at Unisa, and we covered the two apps, the Invigilator app and the Iris app. And today's session will focus also on some of the challenges that you've experienced, dealing with what exactly is academic integrity in an online environment. What do we mean by being an honest student in an online environment? And then we will also have a section where we'll focus on those students that are differently enabled. What provisions does Unisa make for those students that are differently enabled? If you've missed out any of our sessions over the past week and also last week, please don't worry, you are welcome to catch up on these sessions. All you need to do is go to YouTube and search for Academic Development Open Virtual Hub. That's correct. Academic Development Open Virtual Hub. And on that channel, you will find all our pre-recordings. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because when you subscribe, any new updates that we will have, you will be alerted to. So today's panel, we have two experts with us, and our first expert is Jessica Nell. She's the winner of the Unisa Excellence in Tuition Award for Student Support in 2019. Jessica also embraces new technologies and methods for teaching in the e-learning environment. And in her 12 years of higher education experience, she has assisted many students in owning their managerial and decision-making capabilities and broadening their horizons to the potential and considerations of global landscape. Jessica is also a certified business advisor using the Growth Wheel platform with the aim of assisting small business and small medium enterprises in Africa. Jessica has worked with us on several of our platforms already, and I can attest to the fact that she is really keen on helping students to make the best of the online space. So Jessica, welcome to the platform, Jessica, and thank you for taking your time, and especially in the evening when you've got children and alone at home. But thank you for taking your time and joining us and sharing your wisdom and insights for our students as they prepare for the upcoming examinations. So thank you very much, Jessica, and I hand over the platform to you now.
Thank you so much, Denzel. I'm actually very, very happy to be here and to follow on from the Invigilator and Proctoring App discussion from yesterday, because my presentation here links directly to that. It's why do we have the proctoring apps? And that's to maintain our academic integrity in our online assessments. But what is academic integrity? Well, we define it as a commitment by academics and administrators and students to demonstrate honest, moral behavior in their academic lives, even when no one's watching or you think you might not get caught. And it's something that all universities expect of their students without necessarily telling their students exactly what it is and why they should be practicing it. So it's what we call implicit or tacit knowledge. It's something that you pick up as you work through your university life about the right way to think, to speak, to look, and to behave. Now, this embedded knowledge, this tacit knowledge, is based around 6 fundamental values. Honesty begins with individuals, yourself, and it extends out into your wider community. So as students seek knowledge and learn, they must be honest with themselves and with each other. Whether you are seeking knowledge by yourself or from your lecturer or with your peers, practicing honesty is going to lay that foundation for lifelong integrity. We have trust, which is a two-way street. Being worthy of others' trust and allowing yourself to trust others goes hand in hand. Students who promote trust, they will prepare their work that is honest and thoughtful and genuine. On the other hand, their lecturers have to also promote trust by setting very clear guidelines about what is expected of them in assignments and how they will be evaluating your work and providing you that feedback in a good turnaround time. And this leads us to fairness. Treating others impartially is a very important part of creating an ethical community. If you're impartial and if you're objective, that reinforces the ideas of truth and logic and justice. So students who engage in fairness will do their own original work. They will acknowledge the ideas of others that they've borrowed from. They will reference, and they will uphold the academic integrity policies of the university. Like trust, we have respect, and it's two-way as well. You have to show respect not only for others, but for yourself. Respect for self means that you're going to tackle challenges and problems that you encounter at university without compromising your values. And respect for others means that you will value those diversity of opinions you're going to come across. We have our own cultures and our own beliefs and our own systems. What is important is to respect those of others as well, even if they're different. Being responsible means that you will be standing up against any wrongdoing, and you're going to resist peer pressure you might encounter on Telegram groups, WhatsApp groups, and so on. Responsible people will hold themselves accountable for their own actions, and they are also going to try and discourage others from academic dishonesty. Lastly, being courageous means acting in line with those convictions. Like intellectual capacity, your understanding of the subject matter, courage is only going to develop in environments where it is tested. Students who exhibit courage will hold themselves and their fellow learners to the highest standards of academic integrity, even if it brings on risk for themselves, like getting a bad grade or maybe experiencing a negative response from your peer group. So what do all these values mean in the real world? Well, on a personal level, acting with academic integrity shows you're an ethical person and that you have ethical values. And these are very valuable characteristics that the employers out there are looking for. And the reverse is also true. Students that act in a dishonest way in their studies also tend to act dishonestly in the workplace. So if you're caught cheating at university, it could have very serious consequences on your ability to get or to keep a job. Not only that, but I want you to think how it will feel on your own concept of self, how you think about yourself. If you cheat, you aren't building that confidence in your own abilities. But not only that, if a student chooses to take a path of dishonesty, even what seems like a very small thing, like sharing or helping another student with an answer, this individual action filters up to an institutional level. Students that cheat give the university that they come from a very bad reputation, including the qualifications that they come away with. Employers and other universities might choose not to hire graduates from your university or accept students because they think that these graduates won't have the knowledge and the skills that they need for that degree. So we have quality assurance bodies like the Council of Higher Education in South Africa, and we also have professional associations like the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants, who might decide that the degrees from your university are not of an acceptable quality, and they will decide to de-accredit those degrees. So the result is, even students that do not cheat during their studies are in danger of having their degrees devalued because the university as a whole has been devalued and everyone loses. So what might seem like a small action, working as a group to answer an assignment, actually has a much bigger impact for yourself and for your fellow students and for the university. It's called the Domino Effect. So to protect you and your fellow students and Unisa from the impacts of academic dishonesty, we have 3 very important policies that we need you as students to familiarize yourselves with and to keep to. The first policy you should check is the Unisa rules for students. These are general rules that set out how the university works, things like applications and registrations, deferments, and so on. Students should always start by consulting these rules to know the general processes and the way of working within Unisa. Another policy is the policy for copyright infringement and plagiarism. This policy, as it sounds like, it deals with copyright infringement, and that's when someone copies work that someone else created without that person or that organization's permission. And we also have plagiarism, and that's taking someone else's ideas and words without giving due acknowledgement to them. So this policy spells out exactly what copyright infringement and plagiarism is, and it highlights that transgressions will be dealt with in line with the Student Disciplinary Code. Lastly, we have our Student Disciplinary Code. And this code sets out what students can and cannot do at the university. So the rules are aimed at upholding the university's name and its reputation, at maintaining order, discipline, safety, and security, ensuring the integrity of academic processes, and also ensuring the quality of these processes and your degree. Now, this is all well and good, but I still haven't given you some examples of exactly what is academic dishonesty. And you might be surprised at one or two of these, because there's many forms that it can take. Let's start with contract cheating or ghostwriting. Some dishonest people are going to attempt to sell you the answers for assignments and exams, either in person or through social media, like Telegram or WhatsApp. There's also websites that claim to offer the assignment answers, and this is called contract cheating or ghostwriting. Now, these people or these services will attempt to get the assignment questions or exams and from the students at your university, and they will work out the answers, or what they think are the answers, and then offer these for sale. And students get very tempted to buy these because they think that they'll do better and achieve higher marks, or maybe they're feeling overwhelmed and haven't prepared or studied properly for the exam. Now, these people, these external parties are also going to maybe try and give you tips to try and fool your lecturers, like changing the order of answers or making deliberate mistakes. But what also happens is these sellers will sell the same answer script to more than one student. And the result is there's always one or two students who don't make any changes. And from these, the rest are easily found out. There's even sometimes where a student hasn't removed the instructions from that external party to say, oh, change this word over here. I've seen it myself. So students that do this are not only guilty of cheating by buying the scripts and the answers, they're also guilty of plagiarism because they haven't acknowledged where they got these answers from. So what's more, a student who cheats like this is not only not doing the work themselves, but they won't have developed the skills that they need in the real workplace, in the real work environment, and you will have cheated yourself. So ultimately, students need to avoid contract cheating at all costs. Don't be tempted to buy those answers. You need to bury yourself even more in those 6 academic values I've told you about. Be honest and be courageous, and tell your fellow students not to cheat in this way. Because if you're aware of someone that's offering to sell you the answers, say no, alert your lecturers. You can even contact the whistleblowing hotline anonymously, and I'll give you those details at the end of this presentation. And tell your fellow students on Telegram and on WhatsApp, just tell them not to do it because it's going to jeopardize your degree as well. Now, linked to contract cheating is the buying or selling of an exam paper or assessment. In order for ghostwriters to actually come up with those answers to exam questions, they first need to get access to these papers. It's a very, very serious offence to buy or sell a question paper. Both the buying and the selling of a paper is cheating, and the university will take serious action against any person accused of this. Another form of contract cheating is to ask or pay another person to write an exam on your behalf. In this case, you're not buying the answer to an assignment or an exam, but you're paying someone else to write it for you or to complete it in real time. That person will present themselves online with your credentials, Or perhaps they'll go to a practical venue and pretend to be you. And this is identity misrepresentation, and it's a very serious offense as well, because you're not the one to take the exam. I also just want to point out at this point that the Invigilator app will pick up things like this, like identity misrepresentation, because it will ask you to take a selfie, and it will ask you to also upload your identity document when you register on the app. So in that way, it works to prevent this type of cheating from occurring. So the best way to avoid identity misrepresentation is just don't do it. Because getting caught can mean a very long suspension from the university. Once again, you're going to lose because you've not developed those skills or that knowledge that you need in the workplace environment. And lastly, you have absolutely no guarantee that the person taking the exam for you is even going to pass. They might just take your money and leave. So you might run that risk of failing in any way. Now, this one is much more common in the online university environment, where we see students forming study groups to support each other in their degrees. And this is a wonderful, wonderful resource for students. It gives them both the study and the emotional support they need, and they are very much encouraged. Now, under most circumstances, this is a very good practice, but sometimes group members might overstep the boundaries. And instead of offering support, they help each other to cheat. So sometimes it might seem very innocent. Someone in your group is struggling with an answer. They might ask for help from the group, and someone else, thinking that they are being a good friend, gives them the answer. The problem is twofold. When it's an exam situation, it means that both the asker and the answerer have both broken the rules of the exam, and they can both face disciplinary action. They've both cheated. Even in non-exam situations, sharing the answer is not the best idea, because what happens is the asker doesn't develop those skills and that knowledge once again, and they're putting up their own barriers to learning. So sitting together and working together as a group to answer questions is not allowed during the exam. You're not allowed to text each other. You might say it's an open book exam. That doesn't mean that you can consult other people. It means that you independently can consult research and textbooks and articles, not other people. So you mustn't be consulting. You need to avoid sharing answers and make it a very clear rule in your study group. People in these groups might not intend to cheat. I just want to remind you, you're just trying to help each other. Just be very careful and stick to those values of academic integrity. Now, sometimes it feels that that period between registering and exams goes much, much too quickly. And before you know it, you've got an exam the next day. You might not have consistently worked throughout the semester, and you might be feeling unprepared. And then you go and you get a false medical certificate, and this is illegal. So you can avoid feeling stressed by making sure that you work throughout the semester, and rather than doing a burst of work at the end, you pace yourself using a study schedule. Excuse my child in the background, the choice of mothers. So one of the things that is coming up more frequently in today's online environment is connectivity and file submission issues. We know that sometimes things can go wrong during exams. Your connectivity might drop or the electricity is cut. It's your responsibility to try and make sure that you plan for some of these eventualities. Be aware of the load shedding schedule in your area, and if you work on a laptop, make sure it's charged before the exam. So if you do experience one of these unexpected occurrences, you can apply for an aggregat, but you will need to have evidence of this happening. So if you have maybe an invalid login or something like that, take a screen grab that also shows your time on your screen, and you must use that for evidence in your exam. Then you will be able to get an aggregat. But if you lie about experiencing a loss of connectivity or electricity, you're cheating and you're transgressing that student disciplinary code. We can verify the load shedding schedule, so we can verify if what you're saying has actually taken place. So always have evidence of the fact. Similarly, if you submit an incorrect file, or maybe you improperly scanned this file on purpose, this is also attempting to mislead your lecturer, and it's cheating. So the best way to avoid this is to very carefully make sure that you submit the correct file. If you submit the wrong file, you forfeit your exam opportunity and you will have to re-register. In some subjects, you're asked to report on practical or work integrated experience, like doing a practical at school. Now, if you falsify part or all of that report, or if you forge someone's signature to make it appear as if you've completed the work, this is a very, very serious offense. It's fraud. This is a criminal case, not just an aspect of cheating, but you can be taken to court for something like this. We also have plagiarism, very, very common in things like essay type assignments, portfolios, and so on. I would very much encourage you to go to Unisa's MOOC, the Academic Integrity MOOC specifically. Go there and search for the title UOL 018, and it gives you a definition for plagiarism and tools for how to avoid it. If you can just excuse me 1 minute, I will be right back. 2 seconds. Colleagues, if you can just bear with me, I am unable. There we go. Sorry about that. This is the joys of working after hours when you have children. If my colleague Denzel can just confirm that he can hear me.
Thanks, Jessica. We can hear you loud and clear.
Apologies for that. Any parent will understand. So where were we? Plagiarism. Now, plagiarism I experience in my own module. I lecture in business management, and students don't intend to plagiarize. Let me define it for you. It's where you use someone else's ideas without acknowledging them. So put differently, you might pass off their ideas as your own, and it boils down to cheating. It's basically stealing their ideas. It's seen as an act of fraud, because by taking someone else's work and not acknowledging that it's their work, you are lying about it, pretending it's your own, and you're expecting the marker to mark the work of someone else and give you the marks, if that makes sense. So it can extend from verbal text, it can be in images, videos, pieces of music, anything that you bring into your own work and you don't acknowledge, you will be committing plagiarism. So most instances of plagiarism can be avoided by being very careful in citing your sources. You should have an in-text citation where you use that source, and you should also have a full reference at the end of your document. And every college has its own preference for how you will be doing referencing. In the College of Economic and Management Sciences, for example, it is the Harvard referencing method, and they can support you there. Now, another one that has arisen recently is our handing in hour. Students have been using it to continue to write. This handing in hour is not part of your writing time. The official writing time is indicated on your exam timetable. So if your exam is scheduled for 2 hours, that means you have 2 hours to write the exam. The hour uploading time is for us to assist you if you have any difficulties. So continuing to write during this time is cheating. And if you do happen to experience an issue, if you write during this upload time, and then in the dying minutes of that upload time experience an issue, the lecturer or the university is not going to be able to help you. So you're going to basically forfeit that opportunity. As soon as that upload hour ends, we cannot allow you to submit that exam. So writing time finishes, get those scans in, upload. If you experience an issue, you let us know immediately. Take a screen grab of any issue you experience and it shows the time at the bottom. Make sure your screen grab shows the time. Then that allows us to advocate for you and to help you. And in the worst case scenario, you will be able to get an aggregat. In a best case scenario, we can maybe provide you with an additional link to submit your exam. So screen grabs, I want to really, really emphasize this. Anytime you experience an issue in an exam, take that screen grab. Even if it resolves itself, you've got it there, you've got it ready, and you will be able to have our support and we can stand in your corner. So I've given you a whole list of things that can constitute as academic dishonesty, but what does the university do? Lecturers are normally going to be the first people to identify when a student is not acting with academic integrity. We're going to be alerted through things like plagiarism detection software like Turnitin, or through proctoring software like the Invigilator or Iris. And these cases are reviewed by the lecturers to determine if really there is a transgression taking place. Some students are concerned, I've had these queries as well, where maybe they have their children at home and they're making a noise. Or maybe the student likes to read their question aloud to understand it better. That's why the human element is there. The lecturer reviews these recordings and goes, okay, I can hear that's a child or that's a dog. Or I can hear you're reading the question to yourself, and then they will push it through and you'll be fine. So you can let yourself rest easy about that. But what if we do find an instance of academic dishonesty? Like we can hear two students discussing a question or a phone call taking place about the exam, or we see that maybe the student has copied and pasted from a website into their paper or directly from the textbook into their paper. Well, let me play this little video for you so that you can understand in a nutshell the processes that take place. If your conduct in an exam does not uphold our student values at Unisa, the following process will unfold. Your lecturer will allocate a 0 mark to your script and report the matter to the relevant student disciplinary office within the college. When your lecturer reports your case, they put together an evidence file. This is everything that shows why they believe you have acted in a dishonest manner. Other academics will review the evidence and will decide if there is enough to substantiate the allegation. If they feel there is enough evidence, the case will be sent to the registrar's student disciplinary office for official disciplinary action and a charge will be made against you. You will receive a letter informing you that you have been flagged for cheating or plagiarism and that, unless you decide to contest the charge, you will receive this warning letter and a 0 for the exam or portfolio. If you decide not to contest the charge, the matter is then closed as long as you are not found guilty of the same charge within the specified period of time. Should you decide to contest the charge, you will be called to a student disciplinary hearing. This is a committee made up of academics from all the colleges that hears all of the evidence and decides on the probability of the evidence whether you are guilty of having transgressed the student disciplinary code. You have the opportunity to see the evidence against you and to present your own evidence. The committee, having looked at all the evidence, then decides on whether you are likely guilty, and if you are guilty, what sanction you will receive. If you are unhappy with the outcome, you may take your case to the Student Disciplinary Appeals Committee. This committee is made up of other academics represented by each college. You will have the opportunity to present your case, and all of the evidence will again be considered.
The committee then deliberates and makes a decision, and this decision is final.
Yes, so that seems a bit scary. So what can actually happen when you're found to have acted unethically in the exam? You might get a 0 for that portfolio or exam, and that means that you will fail the module. It also means that you don't qualify for a supplementary because you won't have made the necessary subminimum. Alternatively, you can receive a written warning, and this warning can include a possible suspension from the university if you're found guilty of another offence during that time. Written warnings are not to be dismissed. They're going to appear on your certificate of conduct, and that forms part of your academic record. In other words, if you have to send your record to a possible employer or another university, they're going to be informed that you're not an ethical person. Another consequence is having the module registration cancelled and forfeiting the money that's been paid for it. And you might also be stopped from registering for a period of time. And it can be anything from a semester to a year, 10 years, and in very serious consequences, a lifetime ban. That means you will not be able to complete your degree. We also might see the university deciding to cancel all of the credits that you've accumulated for your degree. Or if you've already been awarded the degree, they might revoke the degree entirely. Then some degrees, like the accounting degrees, are linked to professional councils, and they have their own ethics code. So if you're found guilty of offences at university, they might not register you with the council, or if your degree is revoked, they might remove you from that professional council. And lastly, the most severe, in most cases where the university uncovers a syndicate, say where exam papers are being bought and sold, this is a very, very serious offence, and the South African police services are brought on board and criminal charges are laid against you, and you might receive a criminal record in the end. So we go from quite a low 0 up all the way up to a criminal charge. Now let's get away from all the scary discussions. What can you do to prevent this completely? We've shared a lot of scary do's and don'ts up until now, and you might be feeling overwhelmed and asking yourself, oh my gosh, how do I even make sure that I don't act dishonestly by accident? So I'm just going to give you some general guidelines that you can try. Just be an ethical person in every interaction you have. Remember those 6 values of academic integrity that we shared: honesty, trust, respect, responsibility, fairness, and courage. Make those the values that you live by. And if you're faced with any situation, ask yourself whether your action is good and whether your action might not only hurt yourself, but also cause that domino effect on your friends and peers and the university. Study something that you love and that's meaningful for you. No one's making you study. There's no law. You're an adult, and decide for yourself what you want to study. Make sure that that degree you're studying is something you're really interested in, because if you love what you're studying, you're going to feel more connected to it and much less tempted to cheat in stressful situations. So make these choices meaningfully. Plan your time properly so that you have enough time to study. One of the biggest reasons that students give after being caught cheating is that they didn't have enough time to complete their work or their studies. So properly planning your studies and making sure that you stick to that schedule will mean that you have enough time to study properly. Also, be careful not to register for too many modules at once. Remember that each 12 credit module requires 120 hours of work from you. 1 credit equals 10 hours. Practice the skills that you need. Students might feel panicked because they feel they don't have the necessary skills to do well at university. And these include computer skills and online and writing and originality skills like referencing and paraphrasing. The answer to this is not to cheat. Don't copy and paste. Just practice these skills. Why not join that academic integrity MOOC I told you about, UOL 018? That trains you how to reference and how to avoid plagiarism entirely and how to paraphrase so you're not copy pasting. The more you practice something, the better you're going to become at it. Almost everything you learn comes down to developing those skills through practice. And when you have those, you're going to feel much less anxious in the exam. And lastly, ask assistance from your lecturer if you're unsure. Ask for help in the exam, not in the exam. Ask for help about how the technology works and how the processes work. That will help you, and then they will be glad to help you and to explain to you how everything works. Lastly, there's one other action you can take to protect your degree. I know it can be hard, but courageousness is a massive part of academic integrity. You might feel conflicted if you come across a fellow student that's acting dishonestly, but you know what? They're putting all your hard work and your degree at risk. So as more and more of you choose to lock in place the values of academic integrity, it's going to become much harder for cheating to happen in the future. Choosing academic integrity locks in Unisa's values and locks us in place as an institution that has got highly qualified graduate students that employers want in their workplace, and we will instill a sense of pride in you and your qualification. So if you're prepared to report any instances of academic dishonesty, you can contact your lecturer directly, or if you want to be anonymous, you can use the whistleblower hotline, and this is manned by an external party, not by Unisa. So you can contact the hotline toll-free on 0800 005 311. You can also email hotline@kpmg.co.za. And I also have the website link there for you as well, and it can be posted on the YouTube channel. I want to thank you so much for joining this webinar. Apologies for my daughter, she's only 6 years old, coming in to get her extra sweeties. I'm going to hand back over to Denzel Chetty for the rest of the program, and I'll join the Q&A to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you very much, Jessica. Let me say, well done with managing your children at the same time of being online. That's a skill only a mom will have. So well done with that. Jessica, thank you for unpacking a lot of the issues around academic integrity and what it means for us in an online environment, but more specifically what it means for us as an institution, but also what does it mean for a student, from a student perspective, to have academic integrity in online environment. You've unpacked that quite nicely for the students by also cautioning the students on some of these issues. So thank you very, very much for that. I see there might be a few questions, but we'll handle the questions in the Q&A session, so it gives you a bit of time to breathe a little bit before we get to the Q&A session. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll also find that we've got a chat facility. So you will note that you cannot open up a mic, or you cannot use your camera, because this feature does not allow you to do that. But to communicate with us, all you need to do is post a question in the question tab. You'll find a little question tool at the top with a question mark. And we have people that are behind the scenes that are actually waiting for your questions and to respond to you. So to communicate with us during the webinar, you simply click on the tool on the top, then post your question, and the colleagues in the background will then respond to it. So please feel free to use that chat function. At this time, it's my pleasure to invite another fellow colleague, one that I am privileged to have worked with over the past years, who's also become very inspirational in his own right on how students that are differently enabled can engage the Unisa space. And he's Pintius Nguna. He works at the Unisa Advocacy and Resource Center for Students with Disabilities. For those that know the abbreviation, it's called Oxford at Unisa. And he also has very interesting insights on how students can engage this space, but more critically, how we can succeed in the space. So Pintius, thank you very much once again for joining us and for always being willing to share your insights with us and your wisdom. And I know that the students really benefit from this. So thank you very much, Pintius. And I hand over the floor to you now, Pintius, once again. Thank you very much.
Very much, Program Director. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Deaf Awareness Month to everyone. I'm sure you are all aware that September is Deaf Awareness Month. Ladies and gentlemen, the purpose of this unit is to give you more information on reasonable accommodation and online examination for students with disabilities. Maybe one will ask, what is reasonable accommodation? Reasonable accommodation, I can describe it as accommodating students with disabilities, because they have rights and they have rights in terms of receiving the required service. COVID-19 exposed the need for students with disabilities to have access to technology in order to write their online examinations. Ladies and gentlemen, this unit will empower students with disabilities or students with special needs with the following skills. 1. The definition of disability. It is important that we first understand the definition of disability, which reads as follows. Persons with disabilities include those who have long-term physical, mental, intellectual, or sensory impairments, which in interaction with various barriers may hinder their full and effective participation in society on equal basis with others. To understand the requirements for special on the Okay, I've noticed that it looks like I had a network problem. The purpose is also to understand and appreciate the reasons for disclosing one's disability. To understand the requirements for special examination arrangements, provide guidelines on the process to request reasonable accommodation relevant to your disability, understand and enjoy the enabling environment that will promote the full participation and equalization of opportunities at Unisa for students with disabilities. Allow all students who have a diverse range of learning needs to proceed with learning, teaching, and online assessment through a common curricular framework. Strengthen the mechanisms and capacities that will facilitate the integration of students with disabilities. Most importantly, to identify and eliminate barriers to online learning and assessment. Maximize participation of students with disabilities in the teaching and learning processes. That students with disabilities are not inferior to non-disabled students. Acknowledging diversity by recognizing that students with disabilities or students with special needs have different but equally valued learning needs. Students to be aware of the flexibility within the curricula to respond to the diverse needs of students with disabilities, which will allow a student to progress at his or her own pace and style and permit the use of multidimensional assessment methods. Knowledge of the online application process for bursaries to cover tuition fees, prescribed books, assistive devices, including human support. It is important for persons with disabilities or students with disabilities to disclose As ACT, we encourage students not to conceal their disability. Because while we respect students' right to disclose or not to disclose their disability, it must be emphasized that students who does not disclose their disabilities may not receive or demand reasonable accommodation from the university, because the university will not be aware of your individual needs. Ladies and gentlemen, disability can be acquired by anyone, anytime. And it must be emphasized that disability is everyone's responsibility. And disabilities are not always visible. They are also both visible and invisible disabilities. Invisible disabilities, just to give an example, dyslexia, it's one of those. Students who acquire disabilities during their studies are encouraged to contact ACT for assistance with the different stages of accepting their disability and the applicable reasonable accommodation. Because if you don't disclose your disability, you may have challenges on how to proceed with your studies. It is therefore important that you disclose. Ladies and gentlemen, please know that as I'm talking to you, I also have a disability which I acquired 22 years ago through an accident, and I've went through all the stages, including denial, rejection, etc. It is therefore important that you talk to us, because we have experience in terms of disability. We've been down the road. We'll be able to support you. And I must also confirm, ladies and gentlemen, that the university may not discriminate against any student with a disability. By disclosing a disability during the application period, it increases your chances of placement by the university. Ladies and gentlemen, when you disclose your disability at the point of application, the university will give you an offer if you qualify for a particular qualification, as opposed to students without disabilities, where they will have to be on a waiting list. It is therefore important that you disclose. Students are also assisted with application for the bursary for students with disabilities. When they disclose early,
Ladies and gentlemen, we seem to have lost Pintius and Guna. I'm just waiting to see if he's back online. Okay, he's back online. Thanks, Pintius. Okay, it seems as though Pintius has got a bit of bad connection. We're just going to check with him quickly. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think Pintius has left because of poor connection. He may be connecting back on. I wonder, Jessica, I wonder if you could come back on and we could just have a little bit of discussions on academic integrity while we wait. I'm going to ask, let me see if I can ask Ingrid. Ingrid, would you be able to come back on as well? If you don't mind. Ingrid? Okay.
Hey, here I am.
Perfect. Thanks, Ingrid. Okay, I think while we're waiting for Princess to get back on, maybe we can have I know from the past sessions, one of the critical questions that emerged from students were, one is referencing. Do they reference for all their work that is being cited in an examination paper?
Typically, yes. Your textbook, definitely. You can prepare your textbook reference ahead of time. If you're, for example, provided an exam case study, it's not necessary to reference that case study because the lecturer has provided that for you. However, any external source must always be referenced. So if you are doing an open book exam, which most exams are now, you can prepare some sources ahead of time. So you can go, okay, while I'm studying, I can locate this website speaks to what I'm studying. This journal article does as well. And obviously your textbook, any other textbooks you might have. And you can use that academic integrity MOOC once again, or your library guides to identify the referencing technique you need to use, be it Harvard or APA style. And you can prepare the full reference. And you can prepare an in-text citation, the nuts and bolts of it. So it's always nice when you are referring to your textbook to just add the page number that you're referring to. And the reason I say this is because sometimes you might be thinking out the box. So the lecturer might be expecting a specific answer, but you have a different way of looking at it. So then give us that page number that you're referring to so that we can put ourselves in your mindset and actually understand how you're approaching this answer, and you will get the marks.
Thanks, Jessica. Ingrid, one of the questions I know that came up previously is the issue of paraphrasing. I'm wondering if you can briefly touch on what exactly is paraphrasing and when would it be considered plagiarism?
So thank you for the question, Denzel. Paraphrasing really is writing something in your own words. So even though you're writing something in your own words, you still have to give the reference because it is not your original idea. So writing in your own words doesn't mean that you are using substitute words only. It is really taking a sentence and making it your own, or an idea and making it your own. So paraphrasing isn't changing to a different tense, for example, or using, I know I've heard some students, they've heard about these programs online where you can put in a passage and it will change the words. That is not paraphrasing. That is a form of cheating. And most often it is a form of cheating that when your lecturer reads it, they go, what is this person saying? So we will recognize that. So paraphrasing is taking whatever is from your textbook or from where you've read it, using different words to explain what it is, and then giving a reference. If you're not giving a reference, it's a form of plagiarism. So very important to still acknowledge ideas, even if you're using your own words.
Thanks, Ingrid. So we lost Pentheus, but we're not going to lose this opportunity. So I'm going to throw some of my colleagues on the table and make them come up and answer some of the questions. I see there's a lot of questions regarding proctoring apps as well that are part of our discussions which we had yesterday, but some of them are now overflowing today as well. And I see one question regarding IRIS and whether the IRIS proctoring app and whether students would be allowed to use a paper as part of it. Would that be considered or flagged by IRIS? And we actually have the colleague that teaches the IRIS to the staff. Lazarus, if I may ask you, Lazarus, I'm sorry to do this to you. Proctoring app IRIS, can students use a paper to draw on, etc.? Will that be considered flagging?
No, it won't be considered dishonesty. It may be flagged, but it won't be considered as dishonesty. I think I suggested to that specific student that they hold up the piece of paper to the camera before they start so that we can see that there's nothing, the lecturer can see that there's nothing on the piece of paper, and then continue with the exam.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Lazarus. So the first point is actually just to show that there's nothing on the paper and then you can continue. There's another question, Lazarus. During my first exam, I was not able to use the Invigilator app because it was giving me problems. So I decided to leave it and go through my exam. So what I need to know is, will I be penalized for not using the app due to network problems? That's quite critical. The app is there to ensure there's no cheating, and also to ensure the authenticity of your qualification. Lazarus, do you know what are the repercussions of students who do not use the app?
Unfortunately, students who do not use the app will get 0. So if they have problems, they need to contact the contact center or the lecturer immediately, so the lecturer can help them or the contact center can help them. There's a WhatsApp number. I do not know the number, but I know there's a WhatsApp number for the Invigilator app. That if you do have a problem, you need to send your query there, as quickly as you can, because you need to use the app for both Iris and Invigilator. Yeah.
Thanks, Az. And there's a question on scanning app. The scanning app on Invigilator app. I know yesterday the colleagues developed and they mentioned that there is a function now. Am I correct?
Yes, there is a now on the latest version. So if the app opens and it asks you to update, then you must make sure that you update. And then if you have updated, you'll have a scanning option on it.
Perfect. Thanks. I see Jessica has actually posted up the contact number that we gave out yesterday. So for any of your technical or specific queries regarding the Invigilator app, the colleagues at the Invigilator app have made a service provision available. So all you need to do is WhatsApp, and let me say it again, WhatsApp, not call, WhatsApp this number 073 505 8273. Let me repeat that again, 073 505 8273. And that's a WhatsApp number. Do not call, only WhatsApp, and they will provide you that personal information that you need as part of this. I'm just filtering through these questions so that we can actually answer some of these questions. Let's look at if there's any more else. Okay, so we answered the question about the app. Okay. Can I ask someone to help me to just log in and scan documents if I can't use the Invigilator app? Will that be allowed, Lazarus?
Yes, that is allowed. So as long as that person is not helping you to actually answer any of the questions on the exam, it is allowed. Okay.
Then there's a question by Tabo. Is it possible to have exam prep stimulation prior to the exam so that one can prepare what to expect? I have never written an exam online before. There are, Ingrid, let me bring you in. I know Professor Vanessa Sherman also responded here. The mock exam sites, Ingrid?
So there's sort of two things that the student could be referring to. If it's referring to how to use, for example, the Invigilator app or the Iris app, there's tests for both, and students are strongly encouraged to do both before their exam. So don't wait 5 minutes before the exam and then start, trying to figure out how your invigilation is going to work, if there is invigilation. I have to say I'm striking a momentarily blank on whether there's mock exams available. Perhaps Vanessa could help me there, but I think not. But what I would like to tell students is, if they've used My Unisa throughout the semester, if they've done online assessments, then the process is the same on the My Exams platform. So they shouldn't feel stressed out about the platform per se. The e-assessment platform that we've previously shown is also very intuitive. It really follows a logic if you just read on the screen. But official mock exams, I'm not 100% sure. Jessica, do you perhaps know?
I haven't myself, as I am a lecturer, and we haven't received links to create mock exams yet in my college. So I'm also a little bit in the dark about the mock exams currently, and I think with the fact that exams are already here, I think it's unlikely that mock exams are going to take place. But we can still wait and see. They might happen for other students. We'll have to wait to see what Unisa announces about that.
Thanks, Jessica. Thanks, Ingrid. I think when it comes to the mock exams, it's also if, and I see Vanessa actually pasted it in, it's also if the lecturer has actually set up a mock exam. So it's also the prerogative of a lecturer to see if they have actually set up something of that sort. And I see there's still some confusion, Lazarus, with regarding the proctoring app. So firstly, remember that not all modules require proctoring apps, right? So you need to see if your module will be proctored. Secondly, it is only CSET modules that use Iris. The rest of the modules that are being proctored will use the Invigilator app. Iris is a desktop app, load on your laptop or desktop, while Invigilator is on your iPhone, on your phone, right? Then you also need to note here, and I see this is quite, you don't need both apps. You only need one, right? And that is where you need to see which module is being invigilated and what app. You cannot load both apps and use both apps on as part of your assessment. It just doesn't work. It's, as I said, Iris is only for the College of Science, Engineering and Technology, and the other modules use the Invigilator app. Yes, how do we know which exam is Iris? As I said, Invigilator, CSET is the only one that uses Invigilator. Do we have to reference our online exams when doing long questions? As Jessica pointed, that's ideal and best academic practice. I ended in my exam paper during the uploading hour and I wrote late submission. Should I be worried? I think, Ingrid, you answered this question, so maybe you want to respond to that as well.
Yes, so basically it's just the way that the lecturer had set up the system. So if you had, they'd set up the system to have that extra hour just flagged students, but as long as you were able to hand in, it means that the submission is perfectly fine. As long as you were within that hour, that's the big thing. The late submission, the lecturer will just ignore.
Thanks, Ingrid. Then I also see that many of the colleagues, many of the students are linking to sites, and it shows the My Exam site and it's showing the login details are invalid. You will find on the announcements that Ingrid has pasted up direct college links. So you simply click on the link where your college is. So for example, CAS, CEDU, Chem, CHS, Law, CSET, and that will direct you to where your exam is being written on which platform. So please use that if your link is out. Going back, as I said earlier, to review some of the lessons that we missed out. And also, may I also say that last week we had Jessica and Pintius to the academic integrity and the students with special needs. So that was last week, Thursday. So when you log onto the Academic Development Open Virtual Hub, look for the webinar that took place last week, Thursday, on academic integrity and students with special needs, and you will be able to watch Pintius' presentation. Unfortunately, due to connectivity, he's not here with us today. He couldn't. I think he's gone off completely, but it doesn't mean that we can't hear what he has to say. So last week's one, you can grab simply click on last week's session and you will be able to hear exactly what he said from last week. So I see that we don't have so much of questions as compared to previously, and we kind of covered most of these questions that were asked. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I also want to stress is that tomorrow you will find that we introduce something new, and what we've introduced is what we call student blast sessions. Now, the idea here was, in the past, we had many students who tried to contact academics, tried to contact the university, and they didn't get an opportunity to engage us before they wrote their exams. So what we did was we created these blast sessions, and you've got 5 groups, right? So group 1 to group 5. And the reason why we have 5 groups is because once a number exceeds a specific group, it can only take an X amount of, so you need to go to the next group, right? So you got 5 groups. You can log into any of those 5 groups tomorrow, and you will have people who will then be able to provide you with help, technical help. For example, starting with technical help, firstly, how to clear your cache, how to log into your exam platform, how to find where your exam timetable is, all those technical things that you need to know, right? Secondly, you will also find one of the Academic Development Open Virtual Hub specialists in professional development specialists in each of these groups, and they will also run through a short presentation on the different types of assessments. So if you miss that out, you will also be able to catch that tomorrow. And then what we normally do, ladies and gentlemen, is we open up the space. So we will then be able to engage us with the microphone or the camera, and pose your questions to us, to the group. And we'll have people in the group who will then be able to respond to you. Now, last week we had this session as part of the first week of training, and it was very well attended. But I think what was more critical for us was that the fact that students now had a space to engage with us, and they had a space to engage those critical questions and get those answers before they could actually start the examination. So this helped a lot of students with the challenges that they may have and misconceptions of what is happening, and also address the fears as well. So tomorrow you will find between in the afternoon session, and the reason why we have specifically evening sessions is to cater for those that are working. So tomorrow you will find that you will have a 3-hour session where anytime during that 3 hours you can log in, pose a question to the group, get the response that you need, get the help that you need, and exit the group knowing comfortably that your challenges have been addressed and you're comfortable and confident enough to engage your examination. Let me check if I have any other colleagues that have anything else to say. Jessica, do you have any last words from your side?
Let's think. You know, when it comes to referencing, plagiarism, all of that, it is very dependent on what type of exam you're writing. The requirements are very departmental specific. So if there's a few tips and tricks that I can give you, that I'm going to go a little bit off topic from academic integrity and just speak from my own experience, is please always check your announcements on your Unisa platform. That's our primary way of communicating with our students. So go check your announcements on Unisa. Any new items of information, say you might have an extra link that you can possibly submit your paper on if you experience difficulties, the lecturer can communicate that there. So any events, the lecturer will be communicating it there. So you need to be accessing your Unisa, and you can do that through the Invigilator app itself. It has a browser within the app. A beautiful little additional trick that the Invigilator app can do now is it normally requests you to scan your paper at the end of the writing time. Now, this is to make sure that the students aren't writing in the upload time, so that we can compare between what was scanned by the Invigilator and what was actually submitted. But now what it's offering is, once you've scanned, it offers to email it to you or to WhatsApp it to you, and you can then immediately upload that PDF document onto My Exams. So you don't have to worry about using a separate scanner. So it's a nice extra functionality for you. So don't forget, just because you've uploaded it in the Invigilator doesn't mean you don't have to do anything now. You still have to go upload that on the My Exams platform. Please be careful there. My students experienced a bit of confusion with that before. Don't worry about the Invigilator too much. It runs in the background. It'll give you alerts. It shouldn't take a lot of time from you at all. Please prepare those references ahead of time. I'm going to share with you the link to the library guides, Unisa library guides, and you just have to locate your department, and typically within that department, they will have your referencing guidelines for you. So that's just some little tips I can give you for now. You're welcome to ask if any others in the Q&A.
Thank you very much, Jessica. I think you covered that quite well. Very practical suggestions. Let me see if my other colleagues have any last comments just to help the students out as they engage with specifically. Ingrid, anything from your side?
Yes, thank you, Denzel. I think for me, the most important thing that I can tell students is to keep calm. Sometimes things go wrong. And, you know, sometimes you can do something about it and sometimes you can't. So recognize at that moment, what can you do? So if you were kicked out of your multiple choice exam, is it possible for you to go back? Then go back and continue. If there is something else major happening that you can't do anything about it, right? Your house is suddenly on fire and you have to attend to that. That is more important at that moment. So keep calm, distinguish between what you can do something about and what you can't. If you can't do something when something has gone wrong, document it as much as possible. If you're having a problem, I see one of the students said that they were having a problem with the Invigilator app. They were struggling. They couldn't get assistance from the WhatsApp, Invigilator WhatsApp. That's fine. Sometimes that happens. Document it. So take screenshots of your conversations or the messages you send to the Invigilator people. Document what you did, and then you contact the college. We gave the college email addresses that you could contact them with. I've posted a link on the chat. Go find your college, contact them and tell them, listen, this is what's happened. This is what I did. What do I do next? And remember, if something has really horribly gone wrong, and it's really not something that you could control, you can still apply for a AgriTat exam, as long as it is something that is not within your control.
Thanks, Ingrid. I think that's important. Stay calm and work in a practical manner. I see my colleague Pintius has joined us. Pintius, are you good to go, continue, or are you still with a poor network? Pintius? I think he's joined us, but he's still with a poor network. Let me continue. Vanessa, anything from your side, last comments to encourage our students?
I think go to our MOOCs just so that you can familiarize yourself with a range of aspects. What type of assessments you're going to get, possibly how you should prepare for these, revisiting academic integrity and what this would mean, revisiting proctoring apps, because I know that it is very scary if you've got to multitask while you're busy with an exam. I'm very much a person who is task orientated, and I like to focus on one thing at a time and do it well. And then if I've got to do all kinds of other things, it's a bit scary. But we have provided you with tools to make you a little bit more comfortable in this environment. So make use of those opportunities if at all possible. And just remember, Nelson Mandela always said that it always seems impossible until it's done. So I would just like to encourage you, this is, examinations are always very scary and anxiety provoking, but know that you have done what you could to be able to manage it. So just believe in yourself.
Oh, thank you for those encouraging words, Vanessa. Let me check with Salosh. Salosh, do you want to have any final words to the students to encourage them as they start engaging?
Good afternoon, colleagues and students. Just to add, please get familiar with the content of the student support guidelines and tutorials. Keep all the guides and the guidelines at hand so that these can be easily accessed whenever you need to. And also take note of those essential tips that we have shared with you. And I think, a good tip is to form maybe a study group or, a peer. And if you do have any problems or if you need to seek clarity on any issues, please feel free to communicate with your lecturer. Okay. And I think I just want to reiterate, please remain calm. It's just, I think the only difference is that you're writing online. The content is not different. The content is all the same. So please remain calm and all the best in your exams.
Thanks, Raj. Remain calm, echo it once again. Dr. Sheila, any last words from your side, Dr. Sheila? I know you've managed to give the students a lot of practical examples as well. Anything last from your side?
Thank you, Dr. D. Students, what I would like you to know is that the support at this time is very much important. I'm sure you've seen House Jessica earlier having to, what's name? I don't have a better word for it, but she had to juggle around parenting and also working at the same time. But when you are writing exams, that might not be ideal. So if you really need support of family members or friends to take care of your little ones, please do that, because some of your exams are timed, and then as you cannot ignore, for example, when your child is hurt and you hear him or her screaming. So that's why I'm stressing the fact that we need also the support that we can get. I remember during this week, there was a question where one of you said, I've got a small baby and she will be making noise. What will that mean for the Invigilator app? So that's why I'm stressing the fact that we need all the support we can get. Thank you.
Thanks, okay, that's important. Stay calm, and also now we're hearing about the importance of support systems around you. And I'm going to ask my other colleague, I'm going to throw him in the deep end now, but he's actually heads the student retention unit, so he's at the forefront of engaging with students. Lekau, any comments from you, Lekau, warm words to our students as they start engaging with the exams?
Thanks, Denzel. One additional remark I can make, students, is that there are many life problems, challenges that eventually may have an impact on your readiness for exams, may affect you during the examination period. And Unisa has put together a team of counselors who are qualified psychologists who can actually assist you with other issues, social and life issues that may be that you may be facing that may affect your preparation for the examinations and in a negative way. So reach out to Unisa. Will post the link just now where you can access counseling services from the regions, from the central office in Pretoria, so that you can get all the support that Unisa is making available to you. Thanks, Denzel.
Thanks, Lekau. And last but not least, Lazarus, the person who's in charge of the IRIS app and proctoring. Any words for our students as they start to engage from your side?
I think it's the same thing, to reiterate the same thing that everybody else is saying. Don't panic. If you have a technical issue, do not panic. I tell students that the best thing to do is to take a screenshot of the error, the problem, and send it to the contact details, your college contact details, or the SE, the student center contact details. But take a screenshot because if you write down what you're experiencing, it's actually difficult for people to sort of understand it, and so they will then ask you for a screenshot. So the best thing is to just upfront take a screenshot and don't panic. You will be given extra time if you have issues that takes a while to resolve. You will be given extra time to finish your exam, so don't panic. Yeah.
Thanks, Lazarus, and I think that's a good way for us to end up today's show, is to not panic. You heard the words of being calm, support around you, having your family around you to give you that additional support while you write your exam, so that they're taking care of your children or whoever it is around you. But don't stress, don't panic, stay calm, and engage these exams from that kind of perspective. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been our pleasure being with you as the Academic Development Open Virtual Hub and the Student Retention Unit and some of our colleagues. And we'd like to thank you for joining us today. And remember that if you want to see Pintius Nguna's session, please remember to catch up with Pintius Nguna's session by watching the live video on the screen at this time.
You have dialed an invalid number.
Oh, okay, somebody's trying to call us in. Okay, so just remember that you can join us by watching some of those videos and also watching the past recordings as well. From our side, we just like to say thank you very, very much once again, and also to the team of producers in the background, Richard, David, and the rest of the team, and the rest of our other colleagues. Thank you very much, colleagues, for taking the time this evening and being with us. And to our students, we wish you all the best as you start to engage this journey with us. And I know many of you have a lot of modules that you are engaging with, so please do your best, and we will also remember you as you start engaging with these exams. So from our side, all the best to each one of you as you prepare for the upcoming examinations, and we have faith that you will do well. So thank you very much, and we pray that you will have a blessed evening as you go ahead. Thank you, colleagues. Cheers.
Thank you, and bye-bye, Jessica Jr.
Bye-bye.